Welcome back, Focus Learners. Today, we're diving into a brand new explainer, and I gotta be honest, this one is gonna keep you up at night. We're heading straight down an unsolved true crime rabbit hole. It's a mystery that literally defies all logic, twists everything we know, and leads us into a dark forest hiding something completely unimaginable. So, let's just get right into it. He called his friend to say he was safe. Hours later, he vanished into thin air, leaving behind a forest of nightmares. Seriously, just picture that for a second. The creep-in dread of a massive, dead, silent forest just swallowing someone whole right after they literally called to say they were totally fine. That is the exact paradox we are unraveling today. Section 1. The perfect hiker vanishes. Okay, let's dive into this. The date is September 21st, 2008. It started out as just a perfectly normal morning for 61-year-old Zai Sheng. Now, Zai was a retired geography teacher, and he was an absolute pro hiker. I mean, he knew the mountains around Beijing like the back of his hand. He wakes up at 5 a.m., gets out there, and by 4 p.m., he calls a friend to say, hey, I'm already heading down. It was just a textbook day on the trail. But here's what's absolutely crucial to remember. Zai wasn't just some guy wandering aimlessly. He was incredibly reliable. Before leaving that morning, he made a promise to his wife that he'd be home by midnight at the absolute latest. And why? Because the very next day was his mom's 90th birthday, a huge family celebration. He literally had zero reason to just up and disappear. Well, midnight comes and goes. The sun sets, the sun rises, and Zai never walks through the front door. His family is panicking, right? So they call the police. Search teams completely scour Mount Miaofeng. But here is the bizarre part. Hikers usually get lost going up a mountain. But Zai's 4 p.m. phone call proved he was already safely at the bottom, near the base camp and local markets. Cell towers confirmed it. Yet he was just gone. Section 2. The wrong mountain. The investigation hits a massive brick wall. Over 2 weeks go by with absolutely no trace of the guy. But then, on October 7th, out of nowhere, a break. His cell phone briefly pings on a network tower. But wait, it's not anywhere near the mountain. It's 40 miles away at the super crowded Beijing West Railway Station. This quick little ping triggers a massive police rush to the station, but nothing. It was completely fruitless. Zai wasn't there. Now, that phone ping actually shook something loose back at the mountain. A local walnut seller from the base of Mount Miaofeng comes forward with this crazy story. He claims Zai stopped by his shop and actually asked where he could buy better walnuts. And the seller, not wanting to send him to a rival next door, tells Zai to go to a market 30 miles away, near Mount Jiatong. Now, Mount Jiatong is treacherous and totally unfamiliar. Are we really supposed to believe a pro hiker abandoned his route and his mom's 90th birthday just for some walnuts? But police had no choice. They had to go search Mount Jiatong. And this brilliantly illustrates why knowing a missing person's habits is so key. You see, Zai had this signature trick where he'd tear pages out of a daily newspaper and tie them to trees so he wouldn't lose his trail. And sure enough, deep in the scary, unfamiliar woods of Jiatong, police find newspaper scraps dated September 21st. They follow this paper trail and stumble right onto an abandoned campsite, complete with empty beer bottles and rotting, half-eaten food. Section 3. The third-person diary. Finding that campsite was obviously a massive breakthrough, but what they found sitting inside the tent, it changes the entire psychological profile of this explainer. They found a handmade scrap paper diary, and I want you to try and solve this impossible contradiction with me. On one hand, we know for a fact Zai called his friend at 4 p.m., saying he was safe at the base of Mount Miaofeng. But on the other hand, the diary in the tent says he climbed Mount Jiatong on the 21st and got lost while coming down. How could he possibly be safe at the bottom of one mountain, but actively lost on another mountain 30 miles away at the exact same time? And guys, it gets so much stranger. Zai's wife looked at it and confirmed the handwriting was definitely his. But the tone, totally off. The first half of the entry has perfect grammar, laying out this really clear, logical plan to go get help. But the second half, it devolves into this frantic, messy scrawl. And the most chilling part, it's written entirely in the third person. He's writing about himself as Zai, like he was watching someone else disappear. The diary entry ends with this incredibly eerie, haunting line. Love to everyone who passes by. Think about it. A man who just meticulously wrote down a totally logical plan to hike down and find help the very next morning, he wouldn't leave a permanent, hopeless goodbye message like that. Something either broke his mind or someone else forced the end of that journal entry. Section 4. Forest of Hanging Bones. While the diary gave us this super creepy psychological puzzle, the physical search around the actual campsite was about to uncover something much, much darker. The day after finding the diary, an officer is just scanning the perimeter of the campsite. He stops, he looks up, high into the branches of a nearby tree, and up there, hanging completely silently, he spots a pair of pants. The legs are tied tightly shut into heavy knots at the bottom, and the fabric is just bulging. It's stuffed with something incredibly heavy. The officer climbs up, brings the pants down, and slowly, carefully unties those knots. Human bones spilled out. And I just want you to let that sink in for a second. It wasn't camping gear, it wasn't extra supplies. It was the skeletal remains of a human being, violently stuffed into a piece of clothing and just left suspended in the tree canopy. And it wasn't just one. Police scoured that forest and found 10 more sets of remains. 11 sets of human bones in total. The sheer scale of the horror here is just unimaginable. 11 distinct sets of human bones, all stuffed into clothing and hung throughout the forest like some kind of macabre ornaments. But here is the real twist. Post-mortem analysis proved that all of these people died a long, long time ago. None of them, not a single one, belonged to Miaofeng. He had unknowingly wandered straight into a hidden graveyard. Section 5. The Axe-Wielding Stranger. Naturally, when the Chinese media broke the story about the hanging bones, the public lost its mind. But the news coverage actually prompted other hikers to come forward, bringing terrifying new context to Mount Tiatong. Are you alone? That is the question one anonymous hiker reported being asked. They said they were hiking up Tiatong when a man holding a massive axe suddenly stepped out from the shadows, blocked the trail, and just repeatedly asked in a deadpan voice, "Are you alone? Are you alone?" That hiker actually only escaped because their hiking partner finally caught up from behind, grabbed them, and they bolted back down the trail. And wait, that wasn't the only story. If you look at some of the most chilling user-submitted accounts on forums like Reddit, other groups shared deeply unsettling stories of hiking Tiatong right around dusk. They reported seeing bizarre figures hiding behind trees. But the weirdest part? The figures were seemingly only visible from the knees up, crouching in impossible ways with their backs turned to the trail. What is going on up there? Section 6. What happened to Zhai? Okay, let's lay out the pieces of this puzzle. We have a missing pro hiker, a totally impossible timeline, a diary written in the third person, a forest literally filled with 11 suspended skeletons, and stories of an axe-wielding stranger. So the crucial point is, where does the evidence point? Let's look at the top theories. Theory 1 suggests a highly organized serial killer is stalking Mount Tiatong, hoarding victims in the trees, and poor Zhai just stumbled right into their territory. Theory 2, which is heavily favored by local folklore, points to a supernatural force that lured him off his route and fractured his mind, which explains the diary. And Theory 3 posits that Zhai discovered a dark secret, maybe the graveyard itself, and was either permanently silenced or used the chaos to stage his own disappearance, which might explain that random phone ping 40 miles away. Ultimately, the authorities closed the official search. To this day, Miaofeng has never been found. The mountain kept him, and it's absolutely still hiding the truth behind those hanging bones. So, focused learners, I want you to vote on these theories down below. Or if you have your own eerie, user-submitted hiking stories, drop them in the comments. What do you really think happened to Miaofeng? I'll see you in the next explainer.